team. So tonight, if you were in my skincare class or my meeting, I would have said, I want you to watch me tonight. If you think I'm having fun, if you think that I'm enjoying what I do, I want you to consider maybe doing exactly what I do, because I never dreamt this is where I would be. So that's a little bit about my eye story in a nutshell, but in an expanded, by the way, I said those words every year, every day, every meeting, every facial from the time that I was in Mary Kay, from 26 years to 41 years, let's see, 35 years, 36 years, for 10 years before I became a national sales director. I said it like I'd already achieved it. I'm daring to dream, delighted to share, and dedicated to being a national sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics. I said it because my ears needed to hear it. The most important words you'll ever hear are the ones you speak into yourself. Now, I love Tina. I love all of my national sales director sisters. I loved Mary Kay, but until I was willing to speak those words into me on a daily basis, they did not resonate with me. So it's like your children. If you can tell them something every single day, but until they start telling themselves, it's not going to happen. So that's the thing, the key that I think that you need to make a difference. The other thing is that if any of you are out there and you're not seeing success happen as fast as you wanted it to, remember, I said it for 10 years. I wasn't laying around. I wasn't just waiting for success to happen. I was working toward it. So this is my story in Mary Kay. I was 28 years old, which I feel is a wonderful age to start this career, because of the fact that you've had enough of life experiences to realize that not always, even with a college degree, which I had, I was a teacher, not always are you going to get what you expected. You have enough life experience to know that not all jobs are really the careers that you wanted. So I like someone in that 26 to 36 age category, ideally, as far as to work with, and still do, because I think it makes a major difference. I'm not saying somebody can't be younger and somebody can't be older. I'm just saying that if I were Linda Tupin telling you right now, she'd say that's the bell curve. That's that area that you want to be able to take and work with them. The other thing that I want to share is that my sister's the one that talked to me. Now, sometimes people think, oh, your sister's a national sales director. She wasn't then, but she's a national sales director. That's probably why you started. No, what I did is I was afraid, and she gave me permission to go ahead and take a risk on myself. I'm not a gambling person. I never go and gamble anyplace. I don't put money in a slot machine. I don't gamble. I just don't believe in it because I have no control over the return. But I was willing to take a gamble on myself. And by saying that we did not have money. I was 28 years old. We'd had our first baby. I didn't know that I wanted to go back to teaching because of the schedule and everything, small school, 5 preps, study hall. You were the advisor for every single organization that didn't have a coach. And so that was really a challenge as far as for me. So I, at that time, listened to my sister Karen, and she said, what have you got to lose? I remember I signed my agreement on March 17th. They were having a special. And on that special was the idea was that you were going to take and get, I think it was $25 off your starter kit. I'm not exactly sure at that time, but with a $600 order. So I didn't have $600 to put in an order, including tax, which was about $800. I didn't have money to pay for the starter kit. So I went to the bank and got a signature loan. Now realize this was 1978. They didn't give loans. We didn't have credit cards. You just went to the bank. You got a signature loan. I got it for 3 months. I had to prove to myself and to the banker that I was a good risk. And so that's exactly what I did. I went and I said, I'm going to do these first appointments and I'm going to pay you back. Well, guess when I paid him back, and guess when I started doing the appointments? March 17th, got the kit about a month later, went through training, did absolutely nothing but sell a $2.50 mascara refill. We used to have refills then, to my sister-in-law. And then I did my first week of classes. I remember it was the 16th of June. I did it that week. And the reason I remember was my parents' anniversary. And my loan was due, I think the 24th of June. So, it's like I had to take and do it because my loan was due. My first class was $2.50. Now I have been in the business 3 months and I have sold a total of $5. If any of you out there think that someone isn't successful right away, or you yourself weren't successful right away, don't worry about it. It isn't about what someone else is doing. It's what's happening with you.
Amen.
It's what's happening with the individual, whoever you're working with. And don't discourage them by saying, oh, I heard somebody who had a $350 class, their first class. I would rather under promise and over deliver rather than over promise and under deliver. So that was me. My second class was $67.50. And I fell in love with the idea of the cost per use. I put a dime on everyone's tray. That's what the basic skincare cost 45 years ago, was 10 cents a day. If you put 10 cents a day away, you'd have enough money to buy whatever you needed to of your basic skincare. That's when the basic skincare was about $19 or $20. And I remember that this was June. And in October, one of my friends called me and said, from that second class, and said, Diane, I want to get the basic. I've saved up my money. And I said, oh, well, that's good. And she said, well, you said a dime a day. I've now saved enough to buy the skincare and the color. Now, the thing is, I just created a way for her to put it into her budget plan rather than giving her the idea that she could go ahead and spend the money and didn't really need it. To this day, that's why I put 75 cents, 3/4 or 4/4 on a tray. And I just say, it's not your tip for coming, but it's remind me to tell you how inexpensive taking care of your skin really is. This will buy your cleanser, your day solution, your night solution, your moisturizer, and your foundation, and you'd be able to take and use it. This is so weird, Tina, not being able to see myself. So if I look really weird anytime, tell me, okay?
You look fabulous.
So that's, I feel it really, visuals are key in this business. They have to see what is there for them. They have to be able to take and figure out how it might fit into their budget. I would rather suggest more and convince less. I want to suggest ways of them making it happen. I want to suggest them sharing me with their friends. I want to suggest that if they've had a good time, maybe they trust me with the people that love them the most. I want to be able to take and suggest, not convince. We are in the business of suggesting, not convincing. And that money on the tray made all the difference in the world. Well, long story short, my third class was $137.50. By the end of the week, I don't remember what the next two classes were. I did 5 classes. We always got a touch of mink pen when you did 5 classes in 1 week, your first week in Mary Kay, when you started. And that's exactly when I decided to do my first classes. I don't know that I ever got the mink pen. If I did, it probably fell apart. I haven't seen it again. But the thing is, I sold enough to go and pay the $800 plus my interest on that loan for 3 months because of the fact that I had booked those 5 parties. If I would have quit after the first 2, I would have missed out on everything else. See, the thing is, if we don't have something planned for tomorrow, next week, next month, if we don't lay out the options for people, I guarantee you there's nothing to look forward to. Because if we have a negative thing happen, we as women immediately put ourselves down. And I don't want you to do that. So that was where I was at with my start in Mary Kay. I did 2 parties every single week. I booked 2 parties from every class that I did. Granted, 1 or 2 of them did not hold, but I always worked so that I had 2 parties a week. Notice I use my hands a lot, if you could see my hands there.
You can.
The other thing is that I was selfish. And I want to tell you that I don't want people to be selfish. I wanted everybody in my town. Just to give you an idea, I live 10 miles from Madison, South Dakota, population 6,500. I lived about 2.5 miles from Ramona, South Dakota, population about 125. I didn't want anybody else in the business because I wanted all those people for myself. I wanted to be able to take and share with every single one of them. I wanted them to be a customer. And I realized that very soon that it wasn't that the fact that there wasn't room for anyone else, it was how I worked my business. I did not get my first business associate until 1 year later. I took Nancy with me to a guest event in Sioux Falls. I traveled an hour away by car, and in South Dakota, an hour is about 60 miles. I don't know what it's like on the East Coast, but it isn't, you travel 60 miles, it's a mile a minute. That's just the way it is. So 60 miles away was my skincare or my meetings on Mondays, and I took her as a guest. And on the way home, Nancy said to me, I think I want to do this. I said, you what? She said, I think I want to do what you're doing. I just think that if I just loved her for opening her mouth, because I wasn't willing to open my mouth and say, I'd love to work with you. Nancy became my first business associate. That broke the barrier for me to open my mouth and share with other people. I don't know that any of you were like that. We didn't really have the Pearls of Sharing program then. We didn't really have the Red Jacket program then. I remember Mary Kay talked about the importance of passing it on, sharing with others, but I was selfish. So I ask you, are you selfish? How willing are you to open your mouth and ask someone that you never really thought about asking before, whether it be to have a makeover, to come with you as a guest, to be a customer of the week? By the way, I learned to have customers of the week every single week. Every time I went to a guest event, to my success meeting, I always called them guest events, that I always worked to have 3 customers there. In other words, I invited 3 guests of the week, clients of the week. And granted, maybe only 1 showed up, sometimes 2. I rarely had 3 people, but I taught my consultants to do the same thing. Then I kind of played up that person. So if I asked Tina to bring her 3 clients of the week to the next event, or encouraged her, then I would really talk about Tina, how wonderful it is to have Tina as your consultant. What a great way. I love being able to meet you. I love being able to meet the people that she works with. What do you love the most about Tina? Asking them to find out exactly where they're at. See, the key to this business is, how do we build relationships? We build relationships by lifting other women up, making them feel special, making them feel like they are important, not only to their family and to the people they work with, but they're important to you and the people that you work with. I always would say to them, I want you to be my client of the week. I'd like to show you off and share you with some of my Mary Kay friends. I'd like to show you off. Now, most women would not think that they fit into that category, but rather than saying, hey, do you want to come and try some eye colors this week? We maybe tried eye colors, we tried lip colors, whatever. I always had something special for them, but I wanted them to feel special. How are you making your people feel? How are you making your consultants feel? How are you making your prospective recruits or business associates feel? How do you make them feel? So getting back to the whole I story, is that was my first business associate. From that point on, I kept going. I built to 400 customers. Now, I want you to know, my sister did 1 appointment for me that I watched. I went and watched her do 1 facial in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I drove an hour there. She did not sell a thing. It was a recheck facial. If I would have decided that that's how my business would go based on what she did, I wouldn't be where I am today. But she did make sure that I was trained, that she saw how it was done. Then I could go ahead and make it my own. I will tell you that Karen is older than me. She's richer than me. She became more successful than me, earlier than me, but I was willing to listen to her. And once I became a director, we really played off of each other well. She's a by the book person. She reads everything. She studies all the guidelines of whatever contest is coming out. I sometimes neglect to get all of the details there, but hey, I am 100% motivated to make things happen. So see if you can find a partner, someone that you can work with that really helps build you up. That makes such a difference in the world. It should be someone on your level, someone wanting more. Before Karen became my goal partner, my friend Linda did. We were both working for a car. We were both working to build our customer bases. We were both working to build our unit numbers so that we increased that way. See, the thing is, I found someone who was where I was, and we were able to build each other up. I'd love to say that Tina can be everything to you. But you know what, that's like saying Mary Kay could be everything to us. She couldn't. That's why she created the National Sales Director Program. That's why she created the Future or Lead Executive Sales Director Program, the Senior Director Sales Director or Senior Director Program. There's always someone that's there to help you that is in your level. It's hard to compete against someone who's higher than you. It's easier to compete with someone who you both want the similar or same goal, or at least reaching that goal, and then making each other accountable. I often think, and I think I heard Rena Tarbett say this, I've heard so many speeches over the years, maybe it was Arlene Linares, I'm not really sure. I remember Arlene Linares talked about the importance of always learning. When you're green, you're growing. When you're ripe, you're rotten. When you're green, you're
I
growing. When you're
love that.
ripe, you're
Wait,
rotten.
say that
I
again, girl.
never missed anything. I took notes. I made sure that I was paying attention. I used an idea that I heard. I tried it 5 to 10 times before I decided if that idea was a good idea for me or not. I learned from Diane Underwood, who's 35 miles north of me. Karen was 60 miles southwest of me or southeast of me. So there are 3 national sales directors within this small area. The population of South Dakota is 800,000 people, and it's 6 hours to cross the state one way and 5 hours to cross it the other way, actual miles. So it's not like you've got a traffic jam any place. But see, we were willing to take in and learn, encourage, work together, all those things, and share. Diane Underwood said, never go to anything that you are going to take notes at without having a recipe card with you, note card, I don't care what it is. I found the inside of my notebook, and I know some of you write things down, do the computer and everything like that, but you're not using as many parts of your brain as you need to. When you write things down, you are not only seeing the writing, you're hearing it, you're seeing it, and now your writing is inscribing it on your brain. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's so true. So she said, always take the inside cover of your notebook and write down 2 or 3 really powerful ideas that you're going to go home and try right away. So you don't have to look through all the other notes, all the other pages, so that you can see what you need to do. But whatever it is, even if I just said to you, put those quarters on the tray, it's not your tip for coming, but it's to remind me to tell you how inexpensive your skincare can be on a daily basis. And if you go home with your set tonight, that the first day is on me. They take the quarters with them. If that is the only idea that you get to take and help, maybe you're more flush with cash out in New Jersey or the East Coast. That people weren't as flush with cash in rural South Dakota. So I had to kind of think of how it would fit into my head and my heart as well as somebody else's. Then, okay, now I'm just trying to think as far as so that goal partner makes such a difference as far as for making it happen. Linda and I both earned Cadillacs. And I also want to tell you to go one step further from the power of a dream or the power of what somebody else says and grasping it and making it your own. I don't know if any of you know NSDE Alia Head. I grew up with her in Mary Kay because Gail Gaston was our original national sales director. That's the family that I'm from. So Gail Gaston, we were at an area day, and I heard Alia Head get up and speak about what a powerful unit that she'd had and what a wonderful finish. Well, I go home because I'm thinking, if Alia Head can do 50,000 production with 100 unit members I can do the same thing because I wanted to be on the trip for the first time. One of you asked me, what was the most important thing that's happened to me? There are three things that I wear on my lapel. One is the B, one is the Mary Kay Foundation, and one is the Go Give pin. Those are three most important achievements, you might say. I believe in the foundation. I'm so honored to be a monthly Go Give. I was Miss December. I didn't have breasts then, and probably I was the only Miss December that ever was a Miss December, in at least in the world, without breasts, because I've had breast cancer twice. But I was Miss December Go Give, and the other thing is that I earned my B when I really wanted to work toward national, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But the first thing is, Alia had talked about this 100, growing to 100 and 125, and you would be able to do that 50,000 production, and you'd be able to take and achieve your goals. Well, I wanted to be on the trip with my sister and my brother-in-law, Gary. Sis Karen and Gary, they'd been on many trips before, and this was to Germany. And I wanted to be able to take and go, and I wanted to be there with her because I thought it would just be so neat. Plus, we would be the first sister nationals to have earned a top director trip. So I worked all year long. We had a new car driver. We had a new car driver and a new DIQ or a DIQ. We had a new director who also was a car driver. I mean, things were happening, and that last month was powerful. And I got closer and closer to that $50,000 goal. In fact, when the month was over, we had 121 unit members, and we did 51,000 wholesale production. Now, I said to Alia Head, I go to seminar. I'm unbelievably excited because we've earned the trip. That's what we needed. We have earned the trip. I'm so excited to be able to go in September. And I get up and tell my story, and Alia Head comes at the end, and she said, Diane, I meant 50,000 retail. We did 25,000 wholesale. See, the thing is, I didn't know that. My brain only knew 50,000.
Yes.
And I thought, see, it's what we put into our head and our heart that makes the difference. When people say, I don't know if I believe the Bible, and Jesus fed the 5,000 and they had leftovers and everything like that, we have more in us as believers in Jesus Christ than you will ever dream possible. There are people that made major differences in my life at that moment. We went on the trip. If I wouldn't have reached the goal, it wouldn't have been life or death, but it would have been, I had done everything possible. I had put everything into making this happen, and it did happen. Was Mary Kay on that trip? No, she wasn't. That's when she had, I think, the shoulder surgery, so she couldn't travel because she was going to go to the Germany seminar right after our trip, but that didn't happen. But it didn't mean that I didn't earn it, love it. And that was in, I think, like 1987. I'm not sure about the year. In fact, right now I have my phone sitting on top of about 10 plaques that I've earned. I've always wondered what I was going to do with those plaques besides hanging the ones that I have on the wall behind me. But I got 10 plaques here and 3 books, always positive, inspirational books stacked behind to hold my phone. So see, there's always something that you can do with the gifts and everything that you receive. So that's that power of what is missing from your life that you are capable of doing, but you have to believe that it is possible. You have to figure it all out first. No, you don't. If you're willing to just believe and breathe that belief into yourself, that it will make all the difference in the world. Now, I was not a person who did affirmations at the beginning. I was not really a person who read a lot of positive, inspirational books. I don't think I've ever made it through Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, the whole book. It's a little boring at times, but I do believe in reading, and I do believe in reading positive things. I read the Bible. I'm involved in Bible study. I teach confirmation at church. I love guideposts because if I was really tired at night, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, The Guidepost magazine would fall on my face and it wouldn't hurt. So see, there are things out there that you can read that are brief, but we need to fill ourselves up with positive things. Why? Because of everything that's in the news. It's all negative. Everything is tearing somebody down or blaming somebody or whatever. I have to do everything in my power to believe that what I'm doing, I'm on a mission to make a difference for others. When Mary Kay came out with the purpose, I am Mary Kay, kind of like the mission statement, I just made it personalized. And I'm going to read it to you. And if you want me to send it to Tina, fine. If she wants to share it with you. But I would read this 3-4 times a day once I changed this wording. And this was toward the end of my Mary Kay career, active Mary Kay career. I'm still doing encouraging and everything now, but I am an emerita. So therefore, I'm not out in the field building business. But it's I am Mary Kay. I'm a brand with a purpose, built by a woman for women. Opportunity is what I create. Beauty is what I teach. And hope is what I give back. I believe in the empowerment of women. Everything I do is with a desire to help them feel beautiful inside and out. And I create personal relationships like no other brand can. I am Mary Kay. I think every leader, every consultant should be reading this 3-4 times a day. It should be by their bathroom mirror. It should be by their bed. It should be in their date book, because we live in a negative world where everybody's tearing somebody down. And that's why it's so important to be building ourselves up. When I talk about personal relationships, I miss my clients. I miss those 200 and some people that I still kept all the way to the end. If some of you wonder if national sales directors still do makeovers, maybe I did not earn the most money that you could earn in Mary Kay. But I'll tell you what, I built the strongest relationships. I did a facial makeover the last day, December 31st of 2018. That was the last time that I could legally go ahead and do it, and haven't done anything like that since. The thing is, those customers got me to where I am today. My directors, my consultants were people who started out as my customers. So once they trusted me with the product, then they begin to trust you with the opportunity. Then they begin to trust you with where they could go with this opportunity. Then they begin to trust you to help figure out how that can happen. One of you asked in your questions, said, what about communication? And you may have heard this before, but the 5 most important words in the language of leadership are how, what, who, where, and when. How, what, who, where, and when. In other words, what are you looking for in this career? How can I help you make it happen? When could we brainstorm a plan so that you can get busy doing what you want to do and be successful? What one thing might be holding you back? How does your family feel about this? Do you see I have become an expert at working with questions that begin with how, what, who, when, where. Oh, what, yeah. Never why. Why didn't you do that last week? Why didn't you do what you said you were going to do? You'd be a whole lot closer to where you wanted to be. No, you don't ask that, because there's too many other whys in a woman's life. Why didn't you pay the bills? Why didn't you pick up the milk? Why didn't you do this? The thing is, those 5 words, and I learned them from Connie Kitson's sister, can't think of her name now, lives in Hawaii. Anyway, I went to one of the workshops, and those 5 words, so they are by my phone. They are again in my date book. They are in my recruiting notebook. I had a little sticky note as far as in there, because when I was going through, I wanted to make sure that I was always asking the questions the right way. I think that if anybody wants to know about communication, one of the things is, one of you mentioned when to contact people. And I'm going to put it this way. If I were working with Tina and Tina was a new consultant, I would say to Tina, this is a business and I'm your coach. How do you feel about my experience being used to help you be successful? And I would
I
let Tina
love
respond.
that.
How do you feel about my experience
You
and my
feel
success being used to help you be successful? Now, I would let her respond to that. And if she says, well, I think that'd be wonderful. Okay, what I need to know is, when can I count on you to talk to me? When would you be willing to answer the phone? How valuable do you feel it is that we talk rather than text back and forth? What's your best way of communication? What are you most willing to do to communicate with me? If I don't get positive responses during this part of the conversation at the beginning of Tina's career, when I have a chance to work with her and train her, then I don't know how successful. If you looked at the bell curve here, there are going to be people that are going to be off to the side that are going to be successful. 1 out of 1,000. There are going to be people, the greatest number of the people will be at the top of the bell curve, the ones who are willing to work and play by your guidelines. And if you can work with them that way, there are always times where people will drop off. If Tina were one of my people that I just knew that she had it in her. And Tina, I'm using your name because I feel it's so important to use people's names. I don't know the names of your directors, so therefore, otherwise I would be using their names as we're talking instead. I think that when a person hears their name, they perk up a little bit when they hear. So at a skincare class, I always call them by name. And I would always, this is a little off track here, but I would always go around the table and I would say, I'd like you to introduce yourself at the beginning with an adjective that begins with the first letter of your first name that's positive. So I'm not dippy Diane. I'm determined. I'm delighted. I'm daring Diane. And then we go around the table. But I'll often remember their name twice as easy, 5 times as easy, 100 times as easy. And I'll look at Amy and I'll think amazing Amy, or I'll look at terrific Tina, or I'll look at successful Sally, because I learned their name and I learned the adjective that they use to describe themselves with. Notice I said positive because I wanted always to start on a positive note. I always would cover the mirrors too, because I didn't want people looking and saying, oh, look at how bad I look or whatever. I wanted to keep it as a positive event as possible with that. So getting back to the idea of communication, then I want to be able to take and work with people and find out what they're doing. But Tina has kind of fallen off the board a little bit. Maybe she had a couple of bad experiences, but I know what she's got in her. Then I want to go back to Tina and say, Tina, you know what? I see so much potential in you, but I also see that maybe we need to look at a different approach to your Mary Kay business. How about taking a few minutes and talking about what your successes are and maybe where you want to strengthen the areas that you feel a little weak in. So we can have a conversation. It can be after a success event. It can be a phone call before you do a regular call. Try to work it into a time when it's convenient for her to be able to make it happen. If you can meet over coffee, wonderful. But you know what? I found that it just takes a lot of time. I want to meet face to face, but I don't want food involved a lot because I feel like I end up just paying for the beverage to sit there. If that's the only way you get together with people, I guess that you can do that. But I always thought that I tried to keep it as simple as possible to be able to do it. Invite them to my home if they're willing to come to my home. But I want to find out where she's at. And then I would help figure out what would make her have a win. What could be the thing that would make the difference as far as for her? And that I think is really key. So she's getting back into whatever she's doing. Maybe it's booking their first appointments with people. Maybe it's contacting 10 of her clients by picking out the ones that she feels would be the most positive as far as with her. Some people say, well, what did you do to really get your kickstart going? Because I had really worked for National for years, but I had cancer in 1998, breast cancer, right after I had a loss of two of my three key people in my life, two nieces, and were killed in accidents, and my best friend took her life. So 92, 95, and 96 had been very difficult years for me. 98, my brother died of brain cancer in January. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in June, and my dad died of a broken heart in October. I came through breast cancer. I had a complete mastectomy on the left side, 20 lymph nodes taken out before they had the dye that you could inject, and came through that fine. I mean, I just chose not to have reconstruction or anything. The thing that is the miracle in all this, remember I said that I believe in the Mary Kay Foundation. I've supported it since 1996. And the reason I've supported it is because of the fact that one of the researchers discovered the dye that was injected then after, about 6 months after I had breast cancer the first time. Then a woman surgeon came to Sioux Falls. She'd been trained by Mary Kay specialists that were supported by the Mary Kay Foundation in breast cancer research. And she came to Sioux Falls and she knew how to do the dye. She was the one who did then my surgery the second time. 13 years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer on the right side. Isn't that amazing? I thought, my first thought was at least another woman. I saved one woman from a baby having to go through breast cancer. 1 in every 7 or 8 women by the time of you turn 80 will develop breast cancer, not at 48, which was the first time for me. But the thing is that I knew what was going on, and therefore I didn't have to worry about it. I chose to have a mastectomy again. And so this is in 2011. I'd really been working toward national sales director. We'd reached the $750,000 unit club. Things are really going good. And then I was diagnosed. And so again, a little bit of a setback. So I thought, what can I do to really kickstart my business? Now, I do not want anyone to call Mary Kay and say, this is what Diane Bruns said, but I decided that if I was going to give a potential hostess product, I could just as well give her the offering of $100 cash. I selected 25 people. I did not know them all well because I could not give product to someone who had never tried the product, because why would they be excited about being a hostess? It'd be like me going in and saying, you know, I'll go ahead and be a hostess for Pampered Chef, but I don't use any of the stuff. I want a hostess who's excited. So I offered $100 cash to the first 10 people that took advantage of my offer. Happened to be January that when I did this, the first 10 people who took advantage of my offer, and they shared me with 5 of their friends, hold it on the date scheduled, and I could pre-profile them. I do phone pre-profiling. I do not do of the whatever. I want to find out about their skin. I want to find out what they're using. I want to find out if they even use a moisturizer. Do they wash their skin? Do they rinse it off? Do they only wash in the shower? Are they willing to use a makeup? Do they use a makeup? I want to find out about them. And I want to find the color of their eyes, what color they wear the most. And I ask them to wear that the night that we get together. So all of those things I would do, and I would give them the $100. Whether anybody bought a thing or not. $100 cash was in an envelope. We always played a game, and I always got bookings as far as from it. That first class that I did, out of those 10, only 3 of them fulfilled all of the options. So did any of them take the money? No, they took $100 worth of product instead. In fact, I gave them a little bit more product because of the fact that they had some successful parties. But from those 3, I booked and held so that I, for the entire year, had no less than 30 faces in a month. Within 9 months, I'd done 100 and some faces, but I'd done them in party form. Something happens at a party that does not happen at a facial. Number 1, her friends say, "You look great. You've never looked so nice. Oh my goodness, I just love it." That the hostess is thanked for you being there. They trust her. They don't trust you. They trust her. So it's like you're invited to their home. If you feel you're getting the benefit from doing parties online, I'm going to ask you to quit worrying about what you're going to catch out there. whether it be COVID or RSV. I can't, at my age, 73, I go to the doctor and immediately they want to give me all these things because I'm going to die. And I said, hey, I've lived through cancer twice. I'm not going to die. I'm going to keep living. I'm going to go ahead and make things happen. I just can't be afraid. I can't be worried about all this stuff. So therefore, I want you to get back in the field, be with those people. I feel like when you are a Mary Kay consultant / sales director, you are part teacher and you're part friend, you're part actress, you're part comedian, you're part preacher. You're all of those things. And it just, they feed you. They being in front of that group makes a difference for you. And that's what I want you to think about, because you need that. If you're just on the phone or if you're just trying to do things online, it's not as rewarding as being in front of someone. It makes such a difference. So I'm going to encourage you. When I saw Waverly, is it Waverly Wismer, Tina, that had done
Yes, it
pregnant
is.
and
Yes.
had done all the parties. The thing is that she went out there and did parties. I know Jennifer Bessaker is fantastic at doing things online, but she also does deliveries and makes packages look fun and everything. See, the thing is, you have to find what your gift is. I'm a farm wife and a farm girl, farm wife turned, finally moved into Madison when our husband, no, I'm not, when my husband built us a new house here, because he built it, he and his cousin. But you have to not look at around with everybody else. I can't be Tina, and she doesn't want to be me. But see, we bring out the best in each other. So I loved her idea of the SOAR, the idea with the contest this year, because 20 new customers. The thing is, why work for 20 when you could look at 30? Why look at 30 when you could do 8 skincare classes, figure 4 at each class, and that's 32. Do 2 a week. That's what Mary Kay asked me to do and what I was doing when everybody was still saying Mary who. And that's what you have to think about. We need that feedback as far as from people. So the 100 people that I did, do you know that is the year that I recruited then 24 business associates? Guess what it increased my income by? I didn't do this at the time to get recruits. I did it to build my customer base and to build to national. $19,500 is what I raised my income by bringing in 24 people that year just from the commissions on their orders. Now, that was already how many years ago? So it could be even greater. When I look at people, what are you doing? Who are you listening to? Mary Kay, somebody asked me, did I know Mary Kay? Mary Kay, I'm 5 feet 10 inches tall. Mary Kay was petite. I've never been petite in my life. I was a size 4 when I was 4, but I'm taller, always have been, much taller than my sister. Mary Kay would always was so petite and put together, and she'd always put her hand to her figure to her cheek like that, told wonderful stories. Oh, she was an absolute wonderful storyteller. I just loved when she would share. So I have a story that I want to tell you that really has a powerful meaning for you as a leader, as a director in Mary Kay. There was a story about Sherlock Holmes, the great detective, and his companion, Dr. Watson. They were on a camping trip. After a good meal and a bottle of wine, they laid down and went to sleep for the night. After a period of time, Holmes awoke, nudged Watson and said, Watson, look up and tell me what you see. Watson said, I see a million stars. Holmes then just said, well, what does that tell you? Watson replied, and after thinking about it, from astronomy, it tells me that there are millions of galaxies in the galaxies and billions of planets. From astrology, I see that Saturn is in Leo. From the arrangement of the stars, I deduce that the time is 2:15. Since the sky is clear, I deduce that we will have beautiful weather tomorrow. And theologically, it tells me that God is all powerful. What does it tell you, Watson, when asked? And Sherlock Holmes replied, I deduce that someone has stolen our tent. The thing is, we often overlook the obvious. We tend to want to go too far ahead to where we see a person or we want a person to be when we forget what the obvious is. What is it that they want? Remember those 5 most important words? Who, what, when, where, how. Those are the things that you want to ask your people to be able to take and work with them. You maybe even want to ask yourselves. Now I have to ask Tina, what time is it? I don't have any clock around me, so.
It is, I don't even know what time. Oh, 8:48. You're good. You're good.
Okay. I want to share a little bit about Days for Girls, and then I'll leave it open, I think, for questions. I've tried to write down based on what you had asked about. I'm just going to see here. Oh, before I do about Day of Giving tomorrow, I want you to know that your people are not numbers, but I am the middle of a family of 7. My older sister Karen is the first in the family. Then I had a sister Barb, my sister Merle, who died of a brain tumor, myself, my brother Kerwin, then my brother David, who, by the way, is an inmate at the penitentiary in South Dakota, and my sister Nancy, who I've not talked to since 1998. Out of 7 children, I never thought in our family. We were a loving, wonderful family. I never thought I'd have a brother who ended up in the penitentiary. I never thought I'd have a sister who never talked to me. She changed faiths and has nothing to do with me, our family whatsoever. The thing is that when you look at numbers, some will, some won't. So what? I'm not ever letting my sister David or my sister Nancy and my brother David go, but I cannot live my life based on the decisions that they've made. I've had to live my life based on what I have chosen to do. I'm so grateful to my sister Karen, who has influenced me, encouraged me. We've grown up in this business together. We've done things together, and we still talk to each other every single day. Even though she is an hour away, we see each other on a regular basis. The thing is that it's just like in your unit. Some will, some won't. So what? What you have to do is, Mary Kay said, you have to bring those new people in. If you are in Tina's area, by the way, our area was the Hope Express, having only positive expectations, because I really truly believe in hope and what a difference it makes as far as in your mindset and moving forward and everything. And it really expresses as far as my faith walk as well. I truly believe that everything that happens to me, God will use for good somehow, some way. So that in going back to that there will be new people coming in, and there will be some people going out. Some people will just be in there because they love that feeling of being a part of this. I can't make their decisions for them. So Tina did not recruit all of you 10 years ago the same day. You see, the thing is, everyone comes in at a different time and a phase and circumstances of their life. You're going to be meeting people the same way. How willing are you to find out what they're looking for? What do they need? What do they want? What are they willing to sacrifice for in order to make it happen? I've never had anybody come to seminar just because they wanted to come to seminar, unless they'd been there before and they felt good about being there and were willing to do to invest the money to do it, because it was expensive coming from Madison, South Dakota to go to Dallas, Texas, as I'm sure it is from New Jersey. And it's difficult for flights and everything like that. But the thing is that those first times to get people there that really I felt would benefit from it, we had to brainstorm. We had to figure out how it could happen. We had to get together either over the phone or some way in order to take and make a plan for them to be able to do it. If they wanted to be in their red jacket, if they wanted to move up to director, how many people are you seeing? I often think if somebody said to me, I'm going to start a restaurant. Oh, great. And what are you going to have in the restaurant? Well, I'm going to serve two things. That way it's easier for people so they don't have to worry about what they're doing or anything like that. And then I realized that I've got somebody that's trying to contact me here. I'll try to get back. Well, I've just decided to make it easier for people. I'm going to serve hamburgers or hot dogs. Well, right there, you've limited your ability to be a success in the restaurant business because not everyone likes hamburgers or hot dogs. If you narrow down everything too much, I'm going to make 10 calls today. And if things don't happen, then I guess nobody wants to succeed. Or I'm going to go out and meet 3 people this week. And if things don't happen, I'm going to go out and I'm just going to have to take and do something else this week. The numbers, don't leave it up to small numbers. You're the best, you're your own best social media. Don't worry about putting it on Facebook or Snapchat or whatever. Call somebody, send a note in the mail. I still send notes in the mail. I love being able to get mail from someone, and people love getting mail from me. In fact, I have a grandson who, for a special project this year, is going to learn to do cursive at age 17. He never learned it because they quit doing that when he was at the time he would have started doing that in school, so he can read my letters. Now, if that doesn't tell you something, then see, that's what we have to do. What are we willing to do? How many people are we willing to touch to make a difference in their life? Not worrying that they're going to be the next big success in your unit, but you're building a relationship with them, and they might be the next big successful person in your unit. They might be your newest director. They might be your new business associate. They may be your next hostess. But only when they know you are there for them does it make a difference. Okay, Days for Girls. I am passionate about 3 nonprofit organizations. Mary Kay Foundation, of course, love it. I believe it saved my life. The second time I had that surgeon who had learned from Mary Kay and research and also did the dye, so I didn't have to have the lymph nodes taken out a second time. So I really believe, in fact, 3 of the researchers that Mary Kay supported made a difference in my life the second time that I had breast cancer. So that is number 1. Number 2, besides my church and community things, number 2 is Operation Christmas Child, which we just completed. And that's with Samaritan's Purse, because making a difference by sending Jesus in the story of Jesus, the gospel of Jesus, in the boxes that go around the world. Our confirmation classes just sent 156 boxes. And so I was so proud of that. Then this one is Days for Girls. I sew. I was a home ec teacher before. That's what I did. And so I know how to sew. And we make reusable, washable pads, sanitary supplies in bags that are sent to women in 140 countries around the world. 40% of all 8th grade girls will drop out of school, will not finish the year because they do not have access to sanitary supplies. I want to change that. So all of our products are, all of our fabric is purchased. All of our sewing is done on a volunteer basis. Nobody makes any money whatsoever. We have sent over Madison, South Dakota. The group that has been active for 3 years has sent over 3,000 kits to 14 different countries. We just sent 50 to Guatemala, and we just sent 300 to, just a minute, in Africa. Let's see. I want to say Liberia, but that doesn't sound right. But forgive me if that's incorrect. Uganda, sorry. We just sent to Uganda. And because of the fact that they don't have access, therefore they quit school. And I do not want 8th grade girls to quit school, because it's known as period poverty, and it's rampant, and they will be in poverty the rest of their lives. So it is something that we do. So my husband has made trees that are wooden trees. I call it the giving tree because anybody who donates $20 to the Days for Girls receives a tree. And Tina has more information about that, but we are passionate about that because of the fact that it truly does make a difference. So Mary Kay said, if you are willing to take and treat others like you yourself would want to be treated, if you wanted to give to others, that you will receive more in return. And that's exactly what happens as far as with the Days for Girls, with Operation Christmas Child, with the Mary Kay Foundation. I just don't want all of you to have to go through to learn how good any of those organizations are, other than the ones that make a difference in the lives of others. So I don't know that I have anything else. I hope I covered everything that we had. Was there something I missed at all?
No, you were phenomenal. You were absolutely phenomenal. I am going to show them the trees, Di. I have them here. When I was on my cruise with Bill and Diane, when we went to Greece, she kept talking about these trees, about these trees, about these trees. Well, Bill sent me my own set of trees. And when I saw these trees, and I go to craft shows, and I know what these trees are in New Jersey, I was like, Bill, send me some trees. And then Diane started telling me her story, and it's no doubt that she would be the one to chart this up for these young women who I feel my heart just breaks for. So I said, you give me those trees and I'll get rid of them. So my husband and I are going to pay for the postage for these trees to be shipped to you. And so the trees are $20 stupid dollars. Here's a tree that Bill made. Here's what it looks like. It's a real, look at it, right? And so Bill is willing to make the trees and send them. And then what we're going to do is, if you'd like, you don't have to get a tree if you don't want, but if you want a tree, I'll take your tree if you don't want. But it's a $20 donation. And I said to her, I know my area. And I know that, you know what? You could give one of these to somebody for the holiday. I'm going to give one to each one of my sisters. That's why I wanted to get a tree. So what I thought I would do is have the brilliant Kelly Pierce draw up a registration where you could go on and say, Tina, I want 2 trees. Di, how much would one tree help a young lady?
Just to give you an idea, that one tree, the $20, because nothing is taken out from us. All the supplies to make the trees and Bill's time are free of charge. But one of the things, or it makes buys the materials for 2 kits. Now, I want to tell you that it takes 57 steps to make a kit. 7 steps. So we have a bag that we make. There's guidelines that are set up for the Days for Girls organization. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's non-denominational. It is a faith-based organization. It's a nonprofit, but it is the most wonderful organization. And they work to also encourage people in other countries that to treat women, because some cultures still force a woman to go and be to go to a shed in the country, and they're not allowed to be around anyone when they are flowing. And so education in that area, to know that, and then there are lives that have been lost because of that. I just feel it's so important that not only the education, but just to have the supplies. There's a waterproof bag that is sewn with special fabric that we do have to purchase in order to be able to take and do that. There's 2 of the pads, and I am an expert at sewing the pads, but the shields, and then the pads that go in them. But they will last 3 to 5 years. But we found that when they went to Guatemala, they split we give them so that each person gets 8 of the pads, 2 of the shields, the bag that it goes in, a small bar of soap, a washcloth, 2 pairs of panties, and everything has to be according to, we can't use any fabric with eyes on it. Of course, the flannel would be used for the pads themselves. There's just certain guidelines because some countries do not allow that kind of fabric in. Some colors aren't accepted. We like to use darker colors
Ah,
so that it can be used again and again. But a
ah,
girl could still be discreet and be able to take and have her period and still be able to take care of herself without having to necessarily leave the school or anything like that. I thought it
that's
was interesting
beautiful.
last year when we were doing a Bible study that I belong to a Lutheran church, but we were doing a Bible study, and they had set up a whole computer um, uh, building in South Africa, and they couldn't figure out why it wasn't being used to its fullest extent. Well, that was an area where the girls were not allowed to come to school for 2 weeks a month. If they at any time during their period, they had to take and be off of the period so many days, and then they could come back. If a girl misses 10 to 14 days out of the month, she's not going to come back to school. So here they've got this set up for this wonderful computer facility that everybody can use, but it's only the boys that are using it, and some of them weren't interested. So it goes back to the basic
That,
necessities of life.
Diane,
We're
it's fabulous.
female,
It's a
we need to be
fabulous
able to help
organization.
others, and
That's
that's
correct.
all there is to it. So
Absolutely correct.
if you decide not to donate but just want to go to Days for Girls, that's fine with me. That you
No,
do
they
not
want
have
a
to do
tree.
this,
No, Diane,
but
Diane, we want trees. We want trees. These trees are absolutely adorable. Like I said, I am going to give one to each one of my sisters for
okay.
Christmas. Because what am I going to get them? Right? And then somebody else, my daughter Jen, of course, Mrs. Crafty, she's like, Mom, we can decorate the tree. We can put lights on there. I'm like, we can do whatever we want to do. So the goal is in our national area to sell at least 50 trees. Now, I know that I'm going to take this tree to my customers and I'm going to ask them to buy a tree. And so my husband and I are going to take care of the shipping. I don't care because it's a
Uh-huh.
donation and it's a really great cause. And I don't want Diane to pay for a thing. And I think this is fabulous. And, giving near the holiday, Mary Kay Ash used to say all the time, what you give, you get back.
Yes,
And
yes.
so maybe, push yourself to sell one basic skincare. Diane, there's so many things that you said tonight that I'm going to use. I just want to know one thing before I forget. When you said you did the 100 to 125, was that faces a month that you did?
The thing is, when I did the 100 I looked at doing no less than 6 to 8 classes a month. And I booked from every class. So at the end of 9 months, I had done over 100 face. I mean, I had done so that I had done 30 faces a month, whatever that comes to. That'd be 270. That year, I ended up doing almost 400, almost 400 that
At the 12
faces
months. At
because
the
I
12
was
months.
out there doing, but I did them in parties. I did not do
Yes.
individual facials
Well,
unless
listen,
it
Di,
was
if you're looking at 6 to 8 classes a month, you're only going out of your house if you top it up 8 times a month. I
right.
mean, you could kill yourself. You have to get started obviously with having one facial first, but always turning it into a class. I love that.
But my classes, those 3 that I did out of the 25 people I sent to, they were not good, solid customers. They
Yeah.
were people who understood money and had connections, and they maybe knew a little bit about the product, but they were not necessarily basic customers. I wanted to get beyond my circle of influence. So I looked at people who were as far as maybe a friend of a friend. They knew who I was, I knew who they were, but they also knew what $100 cash was. But none
Right.
of them took the cash. They all took product.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? When we were talking about that today, I love that. I love that because I just did a class with 17 people and she wanted all the skincare and she wanted the whole menu. I gave her the whole menu for 17 people. And I booked 4 classes out of that 17 people. And she's still coming on Wednesday on our guest event to check it out. So I think that's great. Does anybody here have a question for Diane that you'd like to ask? Diane, one of the questions was, how did you keep yourself this business can get, um, repetitious, but it also can be a lot of fun. One of the questions was not when you feel like, not when your business wasn't doing good, when you are a little bit in a rut of the same thing over and over and over, how did you get yourself out of that place?
Okay, so I am a person that believes in brainstorming ideas. I mean, I try to think of ways because if I'm not having fun, if I was not having fun, I did not enjoy doing this business. And so I've done every type of skincare class, party, makeover, marathon. I've done everything you possibly could imagine. But I was always willing to change up something occasionally because if it was not interesting for me, then I couldn't really do it successfully. So
Right.
I would look at how I was doing something. One of the things that dramatically changed the way I did interviews is because I found people didn't want to interview for a job that they weren't looking for. So I started discovery calls. And I don't know if somebody told me that or if I just thought about it. So I looked at my unit. I first did it with my own people. I looked at my list for my preferred customer program, and I highlighted the ones that I could do a discovery call with. In other words, I wanted to find out a little bit more about what they loved about the Mary Kay. Always started with the product. Now, I know that some of you think that you don't need to really start with the product, but if they don't love the product, this is still a business where we sell this product. It's like going to a hairdresser, but she doesn't love to cut hair or color it or anything like that. She has to love what she's doing in order for me to me to go in and have her do my hair. So when I looked at that, I thought, I want to find out about these people. I'm not going to talk them into anything. I'm not going to say, can you do an interview call with me? Because they didn't know they wanted a job. But I can guarantee you, once I started doing discovery calls, and people would say, well, what's a discovery call? I just love to discover a little bit more about you. Would you mind if I give you a call? Would you take my call? How willing are you to take my call? I changed that. How willing are you to take my call if I do? Would you be able to take and put your phone number in my phone so that I can make sure that I have it? And then I can put mine in yours so you know that it's me. What's the best time to reach you? Those kinds of things. Discovery calls. Now, just to let you know, I do it with current consultants, discovery calls. I do it with their prospects. I do it with customers. I do it with their customers, their consultants, their customers. I would do discovery calls. I could do them about every half hour, and I would just plan usually an evening. For me, Sunday evenings were really good to reach people because of the fact that the weekend was over, but the week had not started. Maybe that's not a good time for you, but that was a good time for me. A good time for me was anytime before choir on Wednesday nights or after choir, because we would have choir at 7 o'clock and I'd be gone from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So I would do it before choir or else after choir, but I could do discovery calls then. I could do them during the daytime too, for anybody who was available. And I always would say to the consultants, if you have people available during the day, highlight them in yellow. And if they're available in the evening, highlight them in blue. Then it just gives you an idea of when it would be best time to reach them.
Excellent. That's excellent. So
does that help at all?
Oh, yes. Let me tell you. So I'm watching my people, so I know. But I have a question for you. So you were a top director, but then you were a national sales director. How did becoming a national sales director change your life? And if you could talk to anyone on this call about why they should become a national sales director, what would you say?
Well, you have to realize that I was 63 when I became a national sales director. I was already 3 years past the normal time. You must serve at least 5 years. I served just short of 6 years. I retired just before I turned 69. In order to be able to receive the benefits, you don't receive quite as many years of benefits past then, but I felt I had 40 years of information to share, of legacy, of being able to take and build a business in Madison, South Dakota with a population that was minimal. Now, I want you to know that I worked in 17 states. I had to correct myself earlier, 17 states from Florida to Alaska, had consultants and directors all over Oklahoma, Minnesota, Texas, Arkansas. I mean, you name it, all over the place. I was willing to travel. I built a large group in Colorado, and I built a large group in Oklahoma, St. Louis. The thing is that I feel that I was put on this earth for a reason. And if you feel that you're put here for a reason to make a difference in the lives of others, that I felt it was important for me to stay the course. I could be a greater level of influence if I became a national sales director. Granted, there was money to be made. However, money wasn't why I did it, because of the fact that I could have stayed the top director and still made money and still been a top director. But I felt like I needed to be able to take and move up so that people could see and also give them permission to do it as well. Because often people reach a certain age level and they say, well, I guess it's past my time, or it's not worth it, or anything like that. I just feel there are cars, it's the trips, you don't have to worry about earning them anymore because they're already included. The gifts that I don't need, but you know what? I'm a farm girl from South Dakota. I don't really need those things anyway. I've got my ring on tonight, but one of my rings on tonight, and some jewelry, but I never wore jewelry around here because that wasn't something that was important to me. And it isn't something now that's important to me. What is important is I have made, I feel, I pray, a lasting impact on the lives of the women that God has placed in my life. And they've made it on mine as well.
Perfect answer. That's a perfect yes. Give her a round of applause. Yes, that is a perfect. And that is the sweetness of this woman that I love. And my husband lights up when he sees these two coming on board the ship, because we just know that it's, it's about the relationships. You can't know what it means to have someone in your corner when you've had no one in your corner. You can't know what it is to call someone up like her and say, hey, can I put you on a call with my people? Because you'll inspire someone. And someone go, yes, I will. She's retired. She's not in Mary Kay anymore. She's retired. And yet she's still willing to change and affect someone's life. Where do you find that? But you see, when you don't know what that is, that's why a lot of people that come into Mary Kay put us through a test, because who is going to stand there and try to help you become better? Where are you going to go and you're going to have a problem and someone's going to be there for you at your beck and call? Where are you going to go and you can get on a call and feel great about yourself, especially in today's times? And where can you go that you can find a place where you can become better? She became a national sales director because it's a calling. And
Amen.
The higher you climb, the better you are. And those around you reap your hard work. The national sales director position is the top position in Mary Kay Cosmetics for a reason. My husband said to me when I was going out on the stage, I'll never forget it, the courage that you have to not put this down. That is why the rewards are so great. And so I think everything that you said, Di, I just took 5,000 notes and I've been here 27 years and we can learn from one another. When you stop learning and you stop becoming a student, you really stop growing.
Amen.
I
Amen.
love that what you said about willing. You talked 15 times, I counted with a tick mark, about willing. I talk to my area all the time, Di. How willing are you to humble yourself? How willing are you to hear? How willing are you? How open are you to make things better? I don't think that people understand how much control they really have, because what we're really all trying to do is get ourselves into control. right? So Diane, you said willing 15 times. You said, what do you put into your head and to your heart? You know,
Amen.
that's right. And so I have to tell you something today. I was at a funeral this afternoon. And so when we were sitting at the repast, the woman said to me, are your children understanding the religious piece of life? And I said, yes, they do. And she said, I'm going to tell you something. My daughter, one daughter, goes to church on Sunday. She's not Catholic, but she still goes to her church. And she said, I have two daughters. They handle things very differently. One that goes to church, one that doesn't go to church, one that has great influence, and that one that doesn't have great influence. They are very different children. They're adults. They're not children, that they're her children. And I got that message. They will handle things differently based on the example that you show, because more is caught than taught. So I don't know if
Amen.
maybe one of you has a question that you would like to ask Diane, that maybe is something that, I think she's so covered. I love how, what, who, where, when. How can I help you? What? I think I lost one or two, so I'm hoping that one of my
What are you
people-
willing to do? Who do you want to work with? Who would be the first person you'd call? When can we get started? I mean, if you just start writing down questions that begin with those 5 words, you'll be able to include them in your brain. Will start thinking in that manner.
Yep. Thank you. Suzanne, do you have your hands up to ask a question? Go ahead, girl.
I'm not sure if it's really a question.
It doesn't matter.
Like a
There's
comment,
no right or wrong. You go.
But Diane, I got to tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed every single thing that you said today.
Oh.
And I know you can't see me, Diane, but I think you're absolutely awesome because I myself used to teach, and I have struggled with thinking about all the things I can't do now after this hiatus of being a mom. And I find the support of the people around me very encouraging, and everything you said very encouraging, especially since I'm a newbie and I, have been a little worried about, when you said you only made $2 in sales, Diane, you're inspiring me over here those first few months. And one thing you really said that really just resonated with me was that you really can't base your life on other people's decisions. You have to base your life on your decisions. And sometimes I like to say everybody sometimes there's so many people in the world who are garbage trucks, and they truck along and they want to dump their garbage on you, Diane. And lately I just refuse to let anybody dump their garbage on me, because I am not a garbage collector. That's their truck. I'm gonna empty my own truck. I'm gonna worry about my truck right now. So
now I do have to tell you that my mom, there was a lot of things happening, and my mom, I said, well, sometimes you need to be like a duck, let it run off her back, shake and stick out our rear end and shake our tail. So my mom and I are walking around. She was 92 at the time, walking around, and she's got her rear end sticking out, and we're both kind of bending our knees like a duck would be that way. And we're shaking our rear end and going quack, quack. Now, we were laughing so hard by the time we got done. So you don't need to be a garbage truck, and you don't need to be you just go around and be like a duck, let it run off your back and shake your tail. The laughter alone can make all the difference in the world. So sometimes we need that humor along with it.
Very
Thank you, Suzanne.
Suzanne, that was an excellent, excellent question. Okay, one more question or one more comment or one more. I'm on page. Okay, anybody? Oh, wait, Ruth, is that you, Ruth? Okay, Ruth, go ahead.
Oh, Lord. Hi, Diane.
Hi.
So, I'm going through a whole slew of emotions right now. I can't believe that girls are still going through this somewhere in this world. That is beyond me. my family actually came here from Puerto Rico. My aunt, my titi who just passed, she would tell me stories how she had to wash her cousin's panties, even when she had her period.
Yes.
So she came here, and what a life she made for herself. She became a teacher. She put herself through school. She got married, had her children, masters. She retired. A year after she retired, she came down with Parkinson's, and she just passed away. But I wonder if she didn't go through that, would she have pushed herself to never have to go through that and to never have her children or myself?
Amen. Amen.
So that's one thing. I would like 5 trees.
Oh,
And do you have a flyer? Because I could already see myself promoting this on my Facebook Live. So
We're gonna have Kelly. We're gonna have Kelly whip him up. Pierce, I call her. Kelly Whip It Up Pierce is going to make a flyer. I have the tree, Di. I'm gonna send her the picture of the tree that
Okay.
Bill sent me. And Kelly
Okay.
Pierce, Diane is also going to, what you can do is to make this nice and easy. Kelly's gonna handle this for me, which will mean is like, say you want 5 trees. You'll register with Kelly for 5 trees, and then Kelly will take care of the payment to Diane. Diane accepts Venmo, you know, or there's, you know, or ProPay. I don't know, Di, you still have your ProPay?
I don't have ProPay. I've got Venmo, but I would even accept a personal check if somebody had
There
a
you
personal
have
check.
it. So
But I don't have
Kelly,
credit card. I don't have
that's
the
good.
ability to
So-
do credit cards anymore.
right.
I don't
So,
I
and
don't
then
pay
I'm
for that.
thinking-
So
Then I'm thinking, let's do a tote board of 100 trees. And then what we can do is I'm going to take these to my customers as well. And I'm going to say to my customers, I need you to get rid of these trees. Oh Lord, heads up, a bear just ran towards your house. Okay, that's okay. We have a 525-pound black bear
they
that's headed towards
the bear
my
may
home.
be interested in Mary
Maybe
Kay.
he's
I don't
interested in
know.
climbing a tree. But then we could have Kelly.
I can
take
help you
care
with
of-
that, Tina.
Yeah, we can have Kelly. I'll talk to Kelly. We'll have Kelly get a flyer. We can give that to our customers, and then Kel will work out the payment, and I could hook her up with Diane, and we can work it out that way so we can get that to her. We do have a deadline. We have a deadline, and so Diane and I personally will go over that deadline. So here's what I want to tell you. There's nothing that would make Mary Kay more proud than giving. Because you don't know who you're going to affect. And I know something about my national area. We are Holzman's Hearts on Fire, and our hearts are on fire to be the, we are servers, we serve. And so while you're getting customers, while you're building your customers, they'd like to be involved too. Sometimes people just want to do something great. So I think that's amazing, Ruth, that you'd be willing to take 5 trees. I know for myself, like I said, I'm going to use them for a couple Christmas presents as well, because they mean more. They mean more. And so, and Diane, I just can't thank you enough for coming to my national area. You know, I think I have the best national area. These people are the most giving people. I can't even begin to tell you. But I know that if Mary Kay Ash was here, what she would say to you, girl, is you're still serving. And you're still retired, but you're still serving. And I think that there's going to be a special place for you, girl. When that day comes, that we will be rewarded for your goodness, because I think you're the most kindest, loving person I've ever met.
well,
And
I will
so-
tell you that the way you can take and share for Mary Kay is to pass on this product. I'll pass on the opportunity. And the best way, you don't even have to buy more than 1 tree or donate for more than 1 tree. But if you said that in honor of the Day of Giving, that I've chosen to support Days for Girls, and I've chosen to give this tree away to one of the lucky people who sits down with me in the next 10 days for a makeover.
God, what a great
I think
thing.
that's even better, because then they don't have to do
You could run a
anything other than
contest
sit down with
within
you.
your own customers, right, Di?
But the other thing is that all of you most likely will be earning gifts from Mary Kay. And this I got from actually one of my consultants. you know, you keep earning these prizes for Mary Kay, and you kind of lose. It's kind of like a Christmas gift that you think, oh, I already got one of those. Then what she does at her open houses is whenever she has an open house, then she puts the gifts out, and then they get a first, second, and third choice. And then whoever's name is drawn, they would get the prize that's on there. So the prizes then go toward her customers or clients rather than just to her. Not that she's not going to keep some of the gifts herself. I know it's different slightly now, but in the process of this giving and Giving Tuesday, sometimes it's sharing that gift with someone else makes all the difference in the world. So
You are the
thank you
rock
very
star.
much.
I love you.
I
I'll call you
have a very
later.
blessed Christmas.
You too. Merry Christmas, my friend.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.